Hi, I'm Jim. Unironic rabid fans. Plungers, am I right? Anyways, let's talk about weighted blankets. Blankets that weigh more than their massless counterparts. Big boned blankies, whatever you want to call them. So I'm going to try and answer 3 main questions about weighted blankets. What are they supposed to do? Why do they do? And do they do the do that they're supposed to do? I'm gonna go a bit out of order here, starting off with why do they do, because I am always tired and talking about sleep is the closest I'm gonna get to it. But before that, I have a secret that I can't yet say for weighted reasons, but don't worry, I'll let you in on that by the end of the video. Okay, I don't know why we sleep. That's multiple levels above my pay grade, which is nothing, by the way, Mr. Government, or Mrs. or Miss? Preschooler government. I'm not confessing to tax fraud on a YouTube video about blankets. No, sir. Regardless, why we need sleep isn't actually important to this video. What is how poor sleep affects us. I'm sure that everyone has had stretches of times where they just can't get a full night's sleep. It happens. Whether it's because of a school or work-related deadline, you're a gamer, or someone really just wanted a bowl of your blueberry cereal. Look, I'm not here to judge. I'm an insomniac in denial, and blueberry cereal slaps allegedly. But the general consensus is that you should be getting at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep, 8 being the number that gets shoved down our throats because it's the funniest. But for anyone not legally considered an adult though, you should be getting 9. First off, let's talk about short-term issues, because I have no faith that anybody watching this video plans around the long-term, and you'll probably recognize most of these as well. It affects your brain. I know, this one might sound a little bit outlandish, but it's not. More specifically, some areas that get affected are the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for things like reasoning, and the amygdala, which is the emotion and memory center of your brain. So, in other words, you'll become more emotionally volatile, your reasoning will be worse, and your productivity will be affected as well. It's kind of like that Snickers commercial.
You guys grew up together?
Since 3rd grade. What are you looking at?
I'm not looking at it.
We're not good enough for you. You look for something else?
No, I don't know.
What are you, big supermodels? Oh, Jesus. Supermodels? What are you model, gloves? What are you doing? A girl's totally into me.
Brad, eat a
Nap.
Why? Because you get a little angry when you're
Tired.
better?
Better. So, ladies.
So losers.
Stacy, relax.
Sorry.
You're not you when you're
Tired. A full 8 hours of sleep.
is really satisfies.
The one that I personally find most interesting is that your ability to create memories will be harmed, which is most notably an issue for those of you still in school, especially if you don't pay taxes, you leeching child, since you need 9 hours of sleep, and that's pretty darn hard to get when class starts at like 7 AM in some godforsaken places. Even getting 7 consistently is honestly impressive as hell. And, unsurprisingly enough, there are some studies that found a correlation between student performance and how well they sleep. Although I bet you probably could have come to this conclusion by asking anybody who's taken a test on less than 4 hours of sleep. Fun fact, falling asleep mid-question does your GPA no favors. So if your school starts before like 9 and you don't have a dictator for a principal, send the study in the description to them and who knows, maybe, probably not, you might get an extra hour or 2 of sleep. Probably not, because the later school starts, the better students do. But for those of you who do pay taxes, which will be me, Mr. Government, smile. Here are some long-term effects of sleep deprivation. Decreases immune functions, weight gain, increased risk of cardiovascular diseases, and depression. So yeah, pretty much sleep is kind of important. I'm now realizing I kinda got a little bit sidetracked with some serious stuff, so let's go back to talking about weighted blankets, shall we? I don't know why, but I thought that they'd be a lot older than they actually are. Like, I've never heard anyone say, I existed in a time before weighted blankets. In my headcanon, they're like Snuggies. That made no sense. That made no sense. What? That That made no sense. What? 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 Why? But Wikipedia claims some of the oldest versions are from 1999. So, at least I never lived in a world without my Hefty blankies. Pretty much, they were used by therapists treating children who have things like severe anxiety, autism, PTSD, or any other conditions that would cause them to have difficulties settling down. The goal was to employ something called deep pressure therapy, which would lower anxiety and help them calm down. Pretty good, right? To understand why it would do this, let's look at how good your body is at doing some touches. Phrase: your body's sensation receptors, the ones responsible for touch, can send signals to parts of your brain that work in emotion processing and cause you to feel different depending on what you're touching. So pretty much your finger is like a music review channel telling your brain what opinion it should have. And your brain just follows because obviously the internet man knows best. You get a different feeling when you touch, say, your laptop's keyboard and when you touch a real person, right? I wouldn't know though, because I don't have a laptop. DPS is a type of good touch. It causes your body to relax by stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system and reducing activation of the sympathetic nervous system. Okay, to quickly define these, I'm not doing that, just Google it. You have Google. One of them makes you relax, one of them makes you active. You can think of what the weighted blanket is supposed to do as getting a hug. So by virtue of being wrapped in one, those children would begin to calm down. So, if it works on kids, why not try to make $1 grillion by selling it to an uninformed consumer base? Everybody needs sleep, and nobody wouldn't want to sleep gooder and less anxious. You get that, I get money, win-win, am I right? And that's exactly how they were advertised and turned weighted blankets into a near $500 million market. For reference, if you gave me $500 million, I would be pretty happy about it. But there's one key point here. This whole industry is reliant on one thing. Do they do the do that they are supposed to do? Well, it is a bit complicated. It's true that deep pressure therapy works, but whether weighted blankets are a good form of this therapy and actually help with sleep is a bit disputed. There just hasn't been enough research into the subject since it isn't that old of a method. And of the studies done, their conclusions are conflicting at best. One study done with a positive outcome had 31 participants with complaints of insomnia who were asked to record their sleep for 4 weeks, where 2 of those weeks they were to swap to a weighted blanket in the middle of 2 one-week-long control periods in whatever their usual sleep environment is. They found that the people slept better objectively through the use of a polysomnography, a comprehensive test on sleep, and subjectively based on how they responded to questionnaires. An issue that I personally have with this study is that they weren't able to account for the placebo effect, which would likely play a large role in the participants' perspective on their own sleep. Like, the only way I can think of accounting for this would be splitting the groups into 2 and telling one of the groups that this is supposed to make your sleep worse, but there's a reason why I'm making a YouTube video and not designing a psych study, so who am I to judge their methods? Anyways, there are also multiple studies that found there were no difference in sleep quality of the participants. So really, I can't in good conscience say that yes, it works or no, it doesn't. But I'm not a trusted source, so I can lie out of my ass all I want and nobody can do anything about it. I highly recommend getting one if you can, like, unless you don't find them comfortable or can't afford one, both of which are fair, power to you, but otherwise, why not try to get yourself to sleep better and be less anxious? Considering how not cool sleep deprivation is, trying a new blanket seems like a low-risk, high-reward situation, and worst case, just put it back into the bag and treat it like an overpriced, weirdly shaped dumbbell. Because I feel bad about making a video that has zero useful information, if you do plan on buying one, the rule of thumb is to get a blanket that's about 10% of your body weight. But at the end of the day, it's a comfort thing. As long as you're old enough for it to not be a hazard, I support you 100%. Anyways, the secret that I couldn't say at the beginning was that I don't own a weighted blanket. I only have one of the ultralight varieties. It doesn't matter that much, but I don't think anybody would want to watch a video about a product where the person has never had said product. Regardless, it just doesn't make that much sense and would overall make everything I said in this video, which is pretty factual, have less weight to it. It is currently 12 o'clock in the morning. I just had half a tub of ice cream and a cup of hot chocolate. Please sub. Please. Please do.